here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is wise hope. Uh, Hope can be one of the most powerful emotions and perspectives, but we need to make a distinction between what I've heard called hopium, which is sort of an opiate, hope as an opiate, versus wise hope. So we're going to make that distinction, talk about that today. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling as you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good to have you here with us. Good morning, Rosalind. Great to see you here. And welcome to everyone who's joining us. So we're talking today about hope, wise hope versus hopium, essentially. So when I'm talking about hope, so often the way that people hope is, this situation is just hopeless, and I am hoping against hope that I'm wishing and praying that things are going to change, but not seeing the whole picture, not taking action to bolster the possibilities, but essentially retreating into hope rather than emerging into and being activated by an informed hope, a wise hope. And I think that the there's so many circumstances where where this conversation becomes relevant in the political arena, in the arena of climate change. We cannot just sit back, for instance, in the arena of climate change and just hope that it's not happening, or hope that things are going to change. We need to take action. We need to change in order to change the circumstance. Sitting back, being hoping in the context of retreat is essentially kind of absolving ourselves of any engagement or any responsibility for engagement. I hope things are going to turn out. I'm just going to sit back and passively or even actively hope that things are going to turn out. But I'm going to use that hope as an excuse to not be actively engaged versus what I believe it was Nina Simons where I first heard this phrase, wise hope. Nina is one of the founders of Bioneers, an organization of that has showcased change makers and innovators over decades. And so rather than hoping that things change, taking action that helps to forward a change, to actually find reason for that hope, that it's not empty wishes, which is kind of a way that we can lull ourselves into some kind of altered reality of denial of what's actually occurring. I hope things are going to get better. I'm living in that hope, but I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm not going to actively engage versus a wise hope in the face, for instance, of climate change, recognizing, researching, discovering that there are many things happening that have potential to be shifting things, that there are many opportunities for engagement at all different kinds of levels, in all different kinds of expressions, whether it's speaking up, getting politically active, getting active in our communities, getting active in spreading information, that all of these kinds of activities can help to bolster wise hope, that it's informed, that it's not saying there's not a situation that needs addressing. It's not denial. It's actually inviting oneself into the fray in a way. I've been trying to talk about this without the idea of fight, because as we've spoken about recently, we are so oriented culturally to fighting and violence and domination and control that that's one of the things that we get to awaken to, that this is the prevalence of that, and look for alternative ways to bring more light. I went out for a walk the other day and I saw a sign that says, you can't fight darkness with darkness. The only thing that defeats darkness, or that overcomes darkness, is light. And we get to bring more light. We get to bring light to the situation of climate change, to be cultivating solutions, to be cultivating our spirit as well with wise hope, to be informed about all the powerful, positive influences that are at work, while recognizing that there's a threat, that there's a danger that we get to, or a challenge that we get to address in a conscious way, rather than crawling into a corner and just hoping for the best. So this notion of hopium, I think it spreads to other areas where we kind of find it more comfortable to live with our heads in the sand, where we find it more comfortable to remain oblivious. And I see this even in myself, that there is some pain in the world that I don't know how to metabolize. And I think that we are all challenged by this. This is actually interesting. A friend introduced me to a book, and I'm going to see if I can find what the title of the book is. But I think it was, I don't know if it was written by a neuroscientist, or I don't know what the credentials are of the person who wrote this book. Let me see if I can find it. But it talks about how brain chemistry is being changed by our experiences of climate change. It's called The Weight of Nature, and it's by someone called Clayton Page Aldern. How a changing climate changes our brains. And I just barely started the book, so I don't know I don't know what it's actually about, but we are all aware on some level about this changing planet that we're living on and living with. And we are, as much as we want to deny it or pretend that it doesn't exist, we are in a world that is changing dramatically and rapidly. And it has an impact on us. And so when people face continual threat, an experience of continual threat, we get locked into our limbic system, kind of goes into overdrive. And the limbic system is responsible for fight or flight. And we go into self-preservation mode. And that can be fight, flight, freeze, fawn, their feast. There are all different ways that we respond to stresses and stressors. And I think hopium is one of those ways that we allow ourselves to sort of numb ourselves, maybe out of self-preservation, where we allow ourselves to pretend that something doesn't exist. On the other side of this hopium thing is hopelessness, actually. And hopelessness is often characterized by people saying, I can't do anything about it. I'm just one person. What difference can I make? And to absolve ourselves of responsibility because we feel so completely overwhelmed. and hopeless. And so that can move us into a deep, dark despair. And I know that, again, I know that the political arena has been one where lots of people on both sides, or which this both sides thing is a whole other situation and story and conversation, but where people on both sides have felt hopeless. And when that pallor is lifted, it's palpable. It's palpable. And it's like when you see yourself headed for a cliff and it seems inevitable, and all of a sudden you get to make a right or a left turn, and or stop before you go off the cliff. That's pretty amazing. And what is important for us to recognize, and I think that this is straddling the line perhaps between hope and hopium, is that we really don't know what's going to happen. And we can actually see that in our political arena. It looked like one outcome was inevitable, and then all of a sudden, something unanticipated or a sequence of unanticipated events occurred, and now there's a different perspective. I'm trying to speak this as neutrally as possible. But what we can say is it felt like there was one outcome that was inevitable, and now it feels like that's not necessarily the case. And it's important to remember that although we act as if we know what the future is going to bring, we truly do not. We truly do not. I mean, a meteor could hit the earth, for instance, or there could be disclosure of other intelligences, or, that could radically shift the dynamic on the planet. We don't know. We really don't know, and those scenarios may seem outlandish, but the truth is we don't know. And there may be some people that do know about those particular things. I'm not one of them, but we could reach a singularity, where the 100th monkey just sort of shows up and there's global enlightenment. I mean, that may or may not be a possibility. I tend to think that it is a possibility, that there is an accelerated movement of consciousness, and there's evidence of that in lots of places. And is it a likelihood? I don't know. But there are, if we want to cultivate wise hope, there are areas where we can actually find real evidence that can support it, that it's not hiding in a corner, hoping and cringing and hoping. It's standing up and embracing these potentials and cultivating that hope that is founded in a reality, that's founded in evidence that's founded in, that's informed. And the balance of hope and hopelessness is one that we're all navigating in some way or another. And it's not necessarily something that we're navigating in a conscious way. It's kind of an undercurrent in our culture that's impacting all of us and that is affecting our way of being. And if we can bring ourselves conscious to the despair that we may be experiencing, to the hopelessness that we may be experiencing, then we can address it head on. And there's a lot of grieving that may go along with that, particularly as we look at the situation on our planet and the number of species that are going extinct on a daily basis and the documented changes in our climate. And there are things that are cause for concern. And there are actions we can take. And getting engaged, getting informed, finding things that are hopeful to buoy us, to raise us up, to help us keep going in the face of what might seem insurmountable odds, is a way that we can create that wise hope. It's not a make-believe that the challenges are non-existent. It's embracing them and moving into them in action. And that can help to keep us from the deep resignation and the devastating weight of hopelessness. So wise hope isn't pretending. Wise hope is informed. Wise hope is in action rather than inaction, no action, right? Wise hope breeds engagement rather than retreat. And in the face of that, we also get to care for ourselves and be conscious of the need to meter our energies, to grieve when we need to grieve, to be aware, to be responsive, to be cultivating that wise hope. And the way that we cultivate it is by learning more, being engaged, highlighting, becoming active, because it gives us the experience of making a difference. And hopefully, there's that word, we are making a difference. And it is that wise hope that elevates the frequency. It's a wise hope that can really shift the dynamic on the planet. So I invite you to engage, to look at a place where you feel hopeless and helpless, and start cultivating some action that you can engage in that elevates your heart, that elevates your frequency, that feels empowering. And so that's today's invitation, is find a path to your empowerment in the face of the things that make you feel hopeless. And that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to like, follow, and share Enlightened World Network and me. The links are in the description. And as always, it is a pleasure and a privilege that I cherish to have the opportunity to muse together in these mornings about what it is to be human. So until next time, so much love to you.